Welcome into Boxing Scene Today here in the ProBox TV studios. Well, it's a big fight week. Why? Friday, May 2nd, Times Square, an incredible card full of, as my broadcast partners say, all A-side fighters. A spectacular event put on by Turkey Al-Sheikh. But will it work out for the fighters involved, and what are our picks? That is the question. Jimmy Smith in studio alongside the champs, Chris Algieri, Paulie Malignaggi. Well, I don't know how long we're going to work today. There's no real time limit. Why? All of these fights have incredible stories behind them. Not just the physical combat itself, but the comeback nature of all of them. Let's start at the bottom. I love it. Ryan Garcia versus Rolly Romero. Look, when you bet against Ryan Garcia, Chris, I'll start with you. Are you almost saying Ryan might be the train wreck who will let everything slide? That was the conversation before the Devin Haney fight. You've heard less of that building up to this fight. Is it still a concern?
Well, I'll start at the bottom. This is the main event. So we're going to start at the top.
The bottom of my list here.
Right. Ryan, no, that's completely flipped on his head. Ryan's back to being a bona fide superstar. Like he matters. He matters in this sport.
So he's back to being fully focused. Because we haven't seen.
I didn't say that.
We haven't heard, but it's a good point you let in with, because we haven't heard any of the craziness.
I've heard a lot less of it.
Is there a change in Ryan's persona here?
I've been thinking about
his approach, at least.
I've been thinking. So approach, yes. I don't think it's persona. I think what was happening last year with Ryan, and this is all speculation, because if you ask him, it depends on what day. If you ask him one day, it's I'm an Academy Award-winning actor, and I tricked all you guys. If you ask him another day, I'm manic, I'm going through problems, I'm using substance abuses, I'm drinking, I'm very depressed, whatever. So depending on who you ask, whatever. So whatever that might be, but also I think in terms of his marketing and marketability, listen, the kid knows how to market himself. He's been doing that even before he was at a high level in boxing, in the professional ranks. So I think you can't do that like he did for the Haney fight every time. It'll get old so fast. But you can't be that crazy guy all the time.
You know what the shame is here? Like, society's trained to just be glued to train wrecks, and that's what attracts you most. Because if you look at Ryan Garcia, right, he can fight. I'm still not convinced he's world class yet. I still want to see a bona fide world class win, but he's good. I mean, the kid can fight. He's not like your average YouTuber type of guy.
No.
He can fight. He can talk.
He can
He's
punch
a good-looking
too.
Kid. He can punch. Like, it's a shame that it has to come to these crazy theatrics. Like, people will talk about, well, Ali did theatrics. No, but Ali did it intelligently. Like, Ryan's theatrics are like almost moronic.
No,
but is that what attracts now? Because
yes. So Paulie, it's the sign of the times. Because
that's what I'm saying. Is it the sign of the times? Is a shame because a kid like this. Think about.
In the 90s, he would have been Oscar. In the 90s, he would have been Oscar.
I was just, bro, you're leading right into my point. You're thinking for me. You're speaking my mind here. Because I was thinking, like, you look at him, and you can see an Oscar De La Hoya-esque type of image could be easily portrayed here.
100%.
But instead, they went the train wreck route because that's what
sells, dude. But look at
what's society? What's this world coming to?
Paulie, you know what hammers your point home?
It's crazy.
You know what hammers your point home, or really like Steelman's. What Steelman's your argument here? Look what Oscar De La Hoya is doing now. He was the golden boy in the 90s, being the clean cut, pretty, smiles, gentleman, everything, all of that, golden boy. Now, fast forward to 2025. He's doing these funny videos that are cringy, but like they're hilarious.
But with Oscar, it was always a little bit manufactured. You could tell because the kid's from East LA. Oscar, he was when he, so he's like, you could always get a sense that it was manufactured. I don't even think you have to manufacture it with Ryan. I'm not saying play the super clean cut like Oscar De La Hoya role, but you could play a mature.
Well, that wouldn't work anymore.
A mature, exemplary figure here. It wouldn't even have to be that hard for Ryan because he looks the part. So you just don't go crazy.
But Paulie, coming from a YouTube where you're going viral, he didn't go.
You're going viral for moronic stuff. That's the YouTube generation.
You're not going viral for being clean cut. You're not going viral for going to church. You're going viral because you do crazy shit.
Look, but also dumb shit. Like I don't know. You ever see what goes viral on the internet? Like they'll walk into Walgreens and like start trying out sprays and stuff, and like some dumb shit will go viral. I'm thinking to myself,
this is Boomer Paulie.
Proudly, bro. I don't want nothing to do with this crap. This is wild because then I see the potential. When I am the old guy. When we were younger, we did the crazy haircuts. They were.
Oh, you did, yeah.
Yeah, and like the older people be like, you're gonna regret it when you're older. You're gonna look at yourself in pictures and be like, well, look what I did to myself. You're a good-looking kid. I look at it now with somebody like Ryan, and I'm like, man, you can see the potential, and you're like, why are you doing that to yourself, dude? Why would you do that? But then you look at what sells, and you're like, gosh, what a dumb influence we have in this world.
But what worries me a little bit, and I have some experience with this. People remember in MMA, Jason Mayhem Miller, bully beatdown, I trained with him really early in his career, like 2001. We've trained together, and he was goofy, but he wasn't crazy. When everyone around you wants mayhem, be mayhem, be mayhem, if you are unbalanced, you will get worse, because no one's going to say, hey, man,
Pump the brakes,
cool it. That's the
Pump
thing.
the if you have a real
if
problem,
you're super successful,
it'll get
nobody
worse.
wants to tell you anything bad now because they want to be in your circle.
It's also working.
But that's also the genius of Muhammad Ali, because he created a little bit of chaos, but it was always intelligent. And look, at a certain point, he did mature, and he wasn't even that old when he matured. And he was big enough to where nobody could have told him anything either. Yet he still figured it out.
I think it's just
Ali in the 70s is different than Ali in the 60s. He's much less controversial in the 70s than he is in the 60s.
But that's the point. The era changed. The decade changed. Everything's changing, and I don't think Ryan's any different. I think Ryan is he's a kind of guy who would find success, and in the 90s he would have been the clean cut Oscar De La Hoya. In the 80s are different. You had Sugar Ray Leonard. There's different things.
I personally,
the kid knows what sells.
This is just me personally. Because you know what doesn't sell anymore is what's the word I'm looking for? What doesn't sell anymore is being enamored with your own culture. You know what I'm saying? Like Oscar, they swirled around the whole Mexican-American thing around him, even though he was an American Olympian. They try that with Ryan, but there's no embracing it with Ryan. He doesn't speak Spanish. He doesn't really play the Mexican-American role. And I'm not saying, dude, be a cholo. I'm not saying that, but, you can still, I'd like to see a Mexican-American play the Mexican-American, be proud of that. You know what I mean? In any culture, whatever culture you come from.
Because boxing is always survived that way.
It can be African-American. It can be Italian-American. What I'm saying is I enjoy the cultures being embraced by them. And Ryan, as big of a star as he is, even when they try to play the Mexican thing on him, he doesn't really play it. Like other people try to play it on him.
You know why you're saying that? I mean,
because I'm old school. I know.
No, and I'm not even just old school.
And everybody wants to be globalists now, and they don't want to. Not even everybody to embrace their own culture.
It's because you're a soccer fan.
Yeah, but I'm also a boxing fan. Boxing
of course.
There's
a lot of national pride in boxing, but there's less in America. We're not big on that. It's weird. We're such a melting pot.
We're not big on that now, but we were big on it back in the day. I mean, it always sold back in the day. That was a big selling point because American boxing was, sort of the international hub. Fighters from other countries would come here.
But boxing was also like ethics matter. Your background mattered.
Ethnicity,
ethnicity mattered. So
let's turn that around back to the fights. Taking on Rolly Romero.
Yep.
Right. So all this idea of where is Ryan, where's his head, where's this, where's that, is Rolly the right guy at the right time?
Well, that's interesting.
Thanks for Jimmy for reeling us back in.
I
do what I can.
But you know what? But it's a great turn back here because I'll tell you what, Rolly also is another guy who's kind of been very controversial and been very out there,
but also very successful.
I'll be honest. Rolly, sometimes his antics remind me of me. Like where he comes off probably dumber than what he is. You know what I mean? Like people probably thought I was dumber than what I really am. And people probably still think I'm dumber than what I really am. And if you don't know me, I'll let you assume that. But no, I'm serious. Because a lot of think about like some of the antics I came up with. I look back on that, I'm like, I could have probably played that differently. But, whatever. Right. So with Rolly, he kind of has that too. But I'm not seeing any of that from both of them, really. I mean, don't get me wrong. They had a conference, right, where they yelled at each other like in the past week or something. Mm-hmm. But it's not gotten as much traction. It's more so just the return of Ryan Garcia as opposed to two guys who can, kind of trash them.
I'm blaming the promotion. I'm blaming the promotion. They did a poor job of marketing this show. I don't know if they put so much energy into Eubank Ben that this got pushed to the wayside. Because listen, could you look at your phone without seeing Eubank Ben?
Nope, it was all over the place.
No, for how many weeks? Right?
Listen, their defense, Eubank Ben lived up.
Even prior to the fight, in the defense of their marketing, it was a phenomenal narrative that could never happen again. You got two guys who are fighting each other. Their dads fought each other. It writes itself. It's a movie. It's a movie script. So did they put so much into that?
Yeah.
That they left this out because this wouldn't take much. Put those guys in the same room. That's all. Put Rolly and Ryan in the same room. Let them get at each other's throats. In the next room over, have Devin Haney, where Ryan's going to go to cross paths with him.
This is a lot of food for thought. You know what I'm thinking right now? We got a damn good show, bro. I hope you guys are subscribing, bro. Because this show, I'm in the show and I'm thinking. You know, because I can imagine. When you get a good show and you watch it and you're like, you're really involved. I'm really involved, but then I realize I'm actually in the show. I get to tell my side right on the show. I hope you guys are subscribing and tell us your comments.
But this idea that we say it all the time, the power of, no matter what you think about him, the power of Ryan Garcia is always going to be a factor. The idea that Romero physically won't have what it takes to really test that, to push it in a way that you want to see him push. Is that yes or no?
I don't know about that.
That's what I'm hearing from a lot of
kind strong.
What do you think?
The thing is, what Ryan do we have? Do I trust Ryan that he's actually clean? I don't know anymore. Just like I don't really trust Connor Ben that he's actually clean. You know, right. I can have my own feelings.
We've been burned. We've been burned so many times.
So I mean, I don't know, but naturally Ryan's pretty strong, but Rolly's also pretty strong naturally. But I don't know at welter how strong Rolly is or how good Rolly's punch resistance is. And Ryan being so naturally just calling out super middleweights of late, junior middleweights as well.
Not making weight last time out.
Going from lightweight to welterweight.
Walking around looking big.
And power-wise, it's not even a thing. It's like, it usually leaves one suspicious.
So we've all seen the clip of them sparring. Right?
Yeah,
Rolly's,
I mean, the clip seems
using Ryan,
but it's clips. I gotta say it's clips because I got done by Conor McGregor, and the real.
But you know what?
I
can see some clips though.
What?
Rolly was bigger than him at that time.
Yeah.
He's a much younger, less mature Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia is a completely different animal now. Mm-hmm. He's a different thing. And Rolly's, I don't think he's grown since that video. He's really a 35-pounder, guys. Yeah. He's in his third weight class in 5 fights.
How much older is Rolly than Ryan?
Good question. I think Rolly's 29. So a couple years. Mm-hmm. But I just, in terms of genetics, I just don't think he was more of an early bloomer. Because you can see he was super muscular at 35, Rolly's. Ryan didn't get muscles until after the tank fight. After the tank fight is when you see him actually growing.
Filled up.
Yeah, so the fact that they're fighting at 47 is the real light bulb for me where I'm like, all right, I don't know how competitive this is really going to be. I think it can be competitive because Rolly is physically strong. He's very aggressive. Mm-hmm. And apparently he used to be a former judoka. He was a judo guy. And he's very physical. Rolly? He fights on the inside. If you see the way that he moves guys, guys, he's very handsy, which that kind of style, I think, could make Ryan uncomfortable. Problem is, you got to do it with Ryan's left hook. Yeah. The thing is lightning quick and it's hard. Yeah. So if he can survive the left hook or stay away from it for a little bit and make Ryan uncomfortable, we've got to fight. But as soon as Ryan hits him and hurts him, because if he hits him, he's going to hurt him. I'm not saying it's the first one, but he's going to finish him at some point.
What about Ryan's punch resistance? Does that lead us? Is there any suspicion there if it starts to get too good? For example, he did get dropped by Luke Campbell, right?
Yeah.
Early on in Canelo's career, he got rocked by Jose Miguel Cotto. Yep. Then he's taking clean left hooks from Gennady Golovkin like they were cupcakes, you know? So how do we have to keep in mind here if Rolly lands some big left hooks and Ryan doesn't feel them? Is there any suspicion there?
I've never seen Ryan look super sturdy. Haney rocked him with a left hook early.
Not a huge puncher.
Not a huge puncher, and it was Haney's left hook. Haney's not known for his left hook. He cracked Ryan with a left hook and had his legs all over the place. Haven't seen Ryan look super solid chin-wise, so that remains to be seen. But listen, Rolly's can punch. He's a strong guy, and he has a good left hook. Ryan's been hurt with left hands. We saw him go down against Luke Campbell left hand. Yeah. We saw him go down against Tank twice, both left hands. We saw him get rocked by Devin Haney left hand. Rolly's best punch is probably his left hook. We could have a fight on
It's funny. Those are 2 southpaws, though. Javante and Luke Campbell both are southpaws. This is a right-hander here.
But the way they threw those shots, they were loopy.
They were loopy shots. Well, but the southpaw loopy shot's always tricky.
Yeah. Well,
Pacquiao got Hatton like that, too.
Yeah.
Exact same thing. That tricky power. When you talk about degeneration of fighters in between fights, or this idea of we have one idea of a fighter and then we have another one. Have you seen a fall like Devin Haney since the Ryan Garcia fight? Of course, fight on the same card, Devin Haney, Jose Carlos Ramirez.
As in a fall from grace from like the public?
Period. Where even in what is technically not a loss, he's still technically undefeated, got knocked down 3 times, a close fight. I've never seen a guy written off so quickly from, man, an amazing fighter to, man, I don't know if he's shot, if he ever fights again. I've heard all of it.
I think it's a little bit too much. You know
premature.
What I'm saying?
Very premature.
But let me make myself clear. I was one of those people who thought Devin was overrated when people were rating him like the next best thing when he's putting on pound for pound list. I never thought he was that good to begin with.
Sure.
But I also don't think now he's as bad as people are making either. Like, there's no balance here. You know what I mean? Like, he was always a rather good fighter. As a matter of fact, I compared him to myself. You know what I mean? So if I wouldn't tell you I suck. You know what I mean? Yeah. So people may like, oh, you compare him to yourself. Like he's like that's not. I'm not knocking him when I compare him to myself, but people took it as that. But now on the flip side, everybody's making like he was never that good to begin with. No, that kid was
exactly
always
what I mean. This
rather
up and
good,
down,
a rather good fighter. You got to know how to balance it here. And yes, this performance against Ramirez will tell us a little bit. But what is he? The Haney trajectory of Haney's career is pretty standard here, as we're seeing now. Usually, you build yourself on the way up with opponents, then journeymen, then faded champs and faded contenders, and then prime contenders and prime champions. The Haney standard continues to be just feast on, not just faded, extra faded contenders and champions. You know what I mean? When we went to Gamboa, Linares, that route, like those were super faded guys,
Yeah, but Linares wasn't that faded at that point.
Well, he got knocked out in a round by Pablo Cano years before Haney fought him already.
Yeah, but he got knocked out in his prime in one round as well. Yeah. Linares had a you could check his chin early. It could happen. I don't think he was that shot when he fought Haney. I was at that fight. He was in phenomenal shape. I talked to both of them actually right after the fight, Linares and Haney. Linares said he was in shape. Linares said, I'd be
in shape and you still be 38. You know what I mean? Or whatever he was.
I don't think he wasn't. I don't think he was 38. No, whatever. But still, he rocked Haney, whatever. But listen, Linares was still viable.
But what I'm saying is, I think Haney just got to win right now. I just think it's put everything in the rearview mirror. Get the win, even if right now I'm saying, okay, he's doing the same thing he's always done, feeding on faded guys. Ramirez is not as faded as some of those other guys. He's still got a little bit something left.
Still a dangerous fight.
And also, you know what? Coming off the fact that you got to erase that negative memory, you just got to get a win regardless. So you can't knock this.
But I'll say this is a pretty dangerous fight, though. I
still think it's a little bit dangerous. Yeah. But I also think the kid is getting criticism that he doesn't deserve either. Because like I said, he didn't lose. I don't think Ryan's getting. I don't think Ryan is getting enough criticism for being on PEDs. As a matter, everybody's just just basically just crapping on Haney when he didn't even do nothing wrong, and he actually fought his balls off in the fight. He fought stupid, but he fought his balls off. Like he showed me character that I didn't know he had. You know what I mean? So that stays with you. Can it stays with you too much? As far as did it damage you? Well, we still got to see. Again, my final verdict on Haney is this. I never thought he was as good as he was being brought up to be, but I also don't think he's as bad as people are making him out to be. I think this is also unfair. The kid is a good, bona fide, world-class fighter. Now, let's see where he stands.
Paul, I want you to answer this because a lot of people are saying they think he's shot because of the damage he took in the Ryan Garcia fight. First of all, Ryan threw like 17 punches around. It wasn't that damaging.
Yeah.
We live in a clip world, so all we see is the highlights of Ryan knocking Haney all over the ring. That's not how the fight went. He got his swollen face. Yes, he got dropped multiple times. Yes, it was a tough fight. It was, he got hurt, obviously. But in terms of him being shot, he's 26. I know you mentioned about being a young guy. You were in a tough fight when you were young, with Cotto. People saying he's shot, I think it's way too early. You spoke about it. I don't want to take your words on it.
No, but I agree with you. But I think where that comes from is in the past there has been young guys who got thrown in a little bit too early in rough physical fights and never were the same. You think of guys like Meldrick Taylor with Chavez and things like that. So
Fernando Vargas and Tito.
Yeah, Fernando Vargas and Tito.
David Reed and Tito.
Even though Fernando had a successful career after, you don't know how that changed. David Reed and Tito, exactly. So I don't think the argument is, for example, to not be had, like it's outlandish because it has happened. But yeah, I think when you're young, you can still remain hungry. Now, remember, Haney's also made a lot of money. Yeah. So how hungry can he be?
No, for Haney, I think it's more psychological than anything. If he gets over the psychological damage from that fight, he'll be completely fine. Physically, I think he's going to be fine.
Because physically, I think he's
But Ryan's also not the guy. Like we mentioned, 2 fighters that Tito ruined. Like Tito's that guy. He ruined people. Ryan has not ruined anybody. Duarte's having a better part of his career now if they're losing to Ryan.
And it's like you said, he's not really that busy.
No.
What destroys a fighter is that busy kind of fight where there's a lot of damage taken, and sometimes in competitive fights, like Meldrick and Chavez was a competitive fight. So sometimes in competitive, it's that debilitating standard. Ryan didn't really do that.
It wasn't a beatdown.
You know what I mean? And a matter of fact, what people are losing out in the whole thing, despite everything else about Ryan and Haney, is that was a competitive fight, dude.
Yes,
very competitive.
That was a good fight. I think Haney, again, I'll reiterate, I thought Haney could have fought it more intelligently. He didn't show what he's shown me in other fights. He took a completely different game plan, and maybe may have mentally underestimated Ryan going in because of the theatrics, but it ended up being a rather entertaining fight.
But when you look at Mikey Garcia's criticism of this fight, Chris, let me ask you. Mikey Garcia said you don't come back against a puncher after the fight he had. Regardless of, it was a close fight, blah, blah, blah. He did take damage, as you pointed out. But do you see Ramirez as the kind of puncher Mikey Garcia goes, don't come back against a puncher? Paulie's always saying, don't put an up-and-comer against a puncher. Don't ever do that. Is it a similar kind of thing? This isn't an up-and-comer, but trying to bounce back. Is he taking on a hard puncher?
Yeah, Mikey Garcia is absolutely right. You don't normally see a guy coming back off of a long layoff when a fight that you got hurt a lot. You come back fighting a puncher, and I don't know how much they had a choice. I mean, generally, Bill Haney and Devin Haney, the way they've been maneuvered, that Devin's career has been very, very smart, except for the Ryan Garcia fight. But this
that's only in hindsight, right, Champ? I mean, going into the Ryan Garcia fight, nobody.
We all thought it was a good idea.
No, but also the game plan, obviously.
Yeah,
that was a problem because I think that was one of the things I think was exposed about Devin, because I have always thought Devin's good. But I saw in that fight that they didn't know how to change course during a fight. The game plan was, we're going to hook with him, we're going to knock him out, we're going to beat him up, he's not ready. There was no change. You go back to what you did.
You got to
go back
know
to
who
your
you
jamming.
are and who you aren't.
Right.
In the ring.
But also, I think the best champions in the world are guys who can make decisions on the fly and change the course of a fight. I didn't see that with Devin Haney in that fight. That exposed something for me that I'd never noticed with him. But he did show his balls. Which was impressive. But talking about Ramirez, excuse me, he's got a good jab and he's got a good hard left hook. It's kind of like a slower, less dangerous version of Ryan. Can they make the adjustments, keeping that hand up, going back to the jab, not hooking with the hooker? But from what I see is that I think Team Haney, I can't unsee the Barboza fight. They saw Ramirez fighting Barboza, which I think Ramirez beats Barboza any other time before this. I think Ramirez has been very good for a very long time. They saw that his feet weren't there anymore.
Yeah.
They saw a guy who doesn't move as well as Devin.
Can't close the gap.
A guy who doesn't jab as well as Devin in Barboza. Barboza fought off his back foot, fought laterally, used his jab, used technique. Is not a big puncher, didn't try to follow up, and he was able to outbox Ramirez.
And that brings me to a point that I'm thinking about. If Haney isn't obsessed with trying to change people's opinion of him and just goes in there and does the Haney. If he fights like he did Prograis, where just dictates with a lead hand and be very simple, I don't think Ramirez will have the ability to close the gap because again his legs aren't there, and Haney's got great legs when he knows how to
endurance.
When he knows how to change range. That's some of his best assets, some of his best attributes. But you got to be willing to simplify it. Are you willing to simplify it when you may be wanting to prove everybody wrong so badly? That's why you got to know how to have that tunnel vision and eliminate all those opinions, including ours sometimes, our very own. But we're opinion.
Devin that was most impressive about his style was his discipline, and that was what he lacked in the Ryan Garcia fight. Well,
again, got to know who you are and got to know who you aren't. It doesn't change.
Very, very true. But you brought him up, so let's go with him. Arnold Barboza, of course, taking on Teofimo Lopez. There are times when you bet for a fighter. Right? I believe in this guy. I'm betting on him. And there are times when you don't bet on the opponent, but you bet against the fighter. Like, I believe this guy, if you're going against Ryan Garcia, you're kind of betting against Ryan Garcia more than you're betting for Rolly Romero. Is it a similar
I think it's actually the same thing with Devin Haney. If you're betting on Ramirez, you're betting against Devin.
You're betting it. Is it the same thing with Teofimo? If you bet against Teofimo, you're saying...
No, if you bet for Barboza, yeah.
Yeah. Are you betting essentially against Teofimo? Where you're going, he's been inconsistent. It's going to catch up with him. It catches up with him in this fight.
Where I think you're thinking, if he's inconsistent, he can't win this fight against a guy like Barboza because Barboza is very good, So you gotta show up ready against the Barboza, even though Barboza isn't the flash guy that comes with all the frills. So it may be hard to mentally get up for him. But if you read between the lines, Barboza is very dangerous, very capable, and at this point is poised and mature at this level. So he can throw you for a loop.
I'm saying him flat out. If Teofimo doesn't show up, he loses. Doesn't show up, he loses. This is the most competitive fight on the card. This is closest betting lines on the card. Barboza is a tricky guy. Barboza does not care about how wide the margin is that he wins. And I mean by rounds. He will win every round by a millimeter. He does not care.
Yeah.
Does not care.
And knows how to stay disciplined. And at this point, he was...
Doesn't take...
He was taken... Yeah, good point. He was taken... It took him so long to get his just due that, he also has a little bit of that chip on his shoulder, you know, because I still think he's not getting his just due. No. I still think he's being brought in as the guy. Okay, let's see how Teofimo looks here. And Teofimo, when he's at his best, dude. I mean, I think Teofimo at his best can make even the best fighters in the world look like they don't belong in the ring.
Without Kambosos loss, we're looking at Teofimo in the top 5 pound. Like he's that talented.
But then again, you know, you still look at him in random performances, like even the Jermaine Ortiz fight and things like that. He's hot and cold. He's very hot and cold. So Barboza has sort of stink style, you know, where he can make it hot and cold for you and sort of lull you to sleep. And before you know it, you're losing these close rounds, but you're losing all of them.
Champ, you brought it up, Jermaine Ortiz. 2 of Teofimo's performances that really are hard to forget and leave a bad taste in your mouth. One is Jermaine Ortiz, and the other is Sandor Martin, right? And what do those guys do? They move and they box and they stay within themselves. Yeah. What does Barboza do very well?
And they stay disciplined. Yep.
And Barboza's bigger than both of them.
Yep.
So you got a guy who Barboza's a big 40-pounder. So you got a big guy who's durable, who's strong.
It's a good weight class.
Physically strong for the weight class. Yep. And he stays within himself and counterpunches and moves off lateral movement. I'm saying it again. If Teofimo is anything less than his best, he loses this fight.
But think about this, guys. We're talking about a guy who has had 22 pro fights, 27 years old, so right in his physical prime. But this idea that he was having big fights maybe before he was mentally mature enough to deal with this. Like, what is it about Teofimo? If you look back, let's say, for argument's sake, let's say he loses Friday. If you look back in his career, you go, God, they just a little too much too soon. What's your thought on what goes wrong with somebody who's up and down like this?
No, I don't think so. I think, and I've been involved in a lot of Teofimo Lopez's fights. You know, when dealing with Top Rank in the bubble when he beat Lomachenko, I was there for fight weeks. Teofimo fight weeks. Listen, Teofimo Lopez, I will say it right now. I'm not biased, but he's my favorite fighter on fight week. I love Teofimo fight weeks. They're so much fun. Yeah. There's so much chaos, and he thrives in it. He is just, when he's backed against a wall and he feels like he's in a dangerous position, the Lomachenko fight and the Josh Taylor fight, he really steps up. And those fight weeks, he's almost like, watching him is like, he's a tornado. There's so much chaos surrounding him, but when it comes to fight night, he locks in and he performs. And it's such a wild thing to say. That's why it's my favorite thing to watch, because I'm watching the psychology all week long, and I'm like, I don't know if this guy's even going to make it to the fight. Then on fight night, he is the most disciplined, locked-in fighter you're going to see.
Some guys
feels like he's dangerous.
Some guys aren't that good in the calm. Everybody has this assumption like everything has to be calm for you to fight.
No, he's better in the chaos.
Teo is better in the chaos, and I was a little bit like that too. I didn't like totally everything calm. I kind of needed a little bit of chaos to kind of motivate you. Otherwise, you feel like you're getting ready for an IBM meeting or something.
You know who was like that too? Actually, Daniel Jacobs. Jacobs. He needed a little bit of chaos on fight week. Yeah. He needed chaos in camp.
It's sometimes there's those of us that for us it sort of, you know, brings out that urgency or something. You know?
And generally, guys that exactly to your point, Jimmy, what posed this question is these guys that perform to the level of their opposition. Like, what is that about? I think a lot of it has to do exactly what me and Paulie are talking about in terms of they need to feel scared.
The threat.
It needs to be a threat. Yeah. And scare's not the right word, because fighters and being scared in fear, whatever. But yes, there needs to be a threat involved. I saw that with Danny Jacobs. Like when he fought Triple G, he fought amazing. When he fought Canelo, he fought amazing. You know, then he had guys like, you know, Arias and Rosado, when it's like he didn't really feel as threatened. And I think the same thing with Teofimo Lopez. Is he threatened by Barboza?
Does he? Hey, you just set up the
his
question.
Bank account should
does
be.
He?
His bank account's in big threat. He doesn't get past Barboza. He doesn't get the thing that he's been chasing for so long, which is the dollar bills.
Y'all.
But is that it? Do you believe, if I had to have you bet right now, do you believe he's locked in come Friday? Is it?
Dude, I don't know.
You don't know, right?
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
It's just like we've been talking about Ryan and Rolly in the same way. We talk about this fight too. There's not a lot of theatrics, right? I hear about, right? Again, maybe all this got lost. Maybe the champ made a good point. Maybe all this got lost in the Eubank Ben promotion, but I haven't seen a lot of theatrics from what is a card that typically has these kind of characters. That there's all kinds of theatrics. Like this is.
When this got announced, I literally said, I was like, I don't care so much about the fighters and who they're fighting, and particularly in this matchup, but I think the lead-up is going to be great, and the lead-up has been mum.
Yeah. It's been so
and it's also getting swallowed by the fact that it's in a big weekend.
Yeah,
there's so many other big fights. Kind of a little bit underwhelming promotion, but still, you get excited about the matchup.
Now you got me thinking. So I didn't think about the entirety of the weekend. They're the first show. of a big weekend?
Friday.
So who has the best opportunity to steal the show and dominate the news week on Monday? It's Inoue.
Yeah,
he's the last one of the show. He's basically the main event of the weekend. So maybe the promotion looks at this and be like, all right, it's not the best matchups. Yes, we have a lot of star power. Not the best matchups. We'll get him on the next one. I don't know. Because you got Canelo on Saturday. Canelo's Canelo, but he's fighting Skull. Then you got Sunday. Actually, the most competitive fight of all of the fights of the weekend is Inoue and Cardenas. Yeah. And he's also the end of it's kind of like the main event. And also it's Inoue.
It's going to be a fun week. Plenty for us to talk about. How do you like that show kicking off your week? So much knowledge, Paulie. We appreciate it every time. Chris, you're the man. This has been Boxing Scene Today from the ProBox TV studios. Tune to us for your boxing news. Once again, it's going to be a busy week. We'll see you all week. Find out why millions are watching.